This video, I'm going to give you the exact strategy that I've used to make over $150,000 in profit while reselling shoes as a full-time college student. If you're new to my channel, my name is Zain Zitawi. I've been reselling for the last 4 years, and I'm now doing this full-time as I finish up my last semester in college. Now, let me also preface this video by saying I'm not smarter than you. I wasn't born as a millionaire, and I'm not really special compared to you. So there's absolutely no reason that by the end of this video, you can't make at least $10,000 this summer reselling sneakers. Because I'm giving you the same exact strategy that's made me over $100,000. So what's stopping you from making only 10% of that? So I spoke to tons of millionaire resellers as well as compiled all of my own knowledge into a 3-part system, and in this video I'm going to be walking you through the entire thing step by step. So whether you're already reselling and struggling to hit the next level, or you're at complete zero and just want to get started, then this is for you. I'm gonna stop yapping in like 1 second, but all I'm asking you to do is just get out a notebook and actually pay attention, because if you just let this run in the background, you're not actually going to grasp these concepts and be able to make money. So first, let's clear up some common misconceptions. The first is that you actually need sneaker bots to be able to get inventory, and this couldn't be farther from the truth. Absolutely zero of my inventory comes from sneaker botting. It's super hard to get into, it's not consistent, and there's already tons of people that are dominating that space. There's no point in trying to compete with them, and what I'm going to show you later is going to be way easier. Second is that the sneaker market is dead. Now, a lot of people seem to think this because resale prices just aren't the same as they were just a couple of years ago, but the truth is the market is just going through a different cycle right now. The economy as a whole is in shambles, and so people don't have a ton of disposable income to be able to throw into sneakers like they did 2 years ago when stimulus checks were coming in left and right. Now, one thing that I will say for sure is the market is completely different. You can no longer try to make $70, $80, $150 a pair. Instead, you need to focus more on moving volume, but don't worry, I'm going to cover all this more in a little bit. And the last 2 misconceptions that I always hear is that finding buyers and sellers is impossible and that you need thousands of dollars to start doing this. And those are both just simply not true. Later, I'm going to show you how to do buyer and seller hacking to find unlimited amounts of buyers and sellers, and I'm going to show you a strategy that you can start even if you have $0. I'll also be posting a $0 to $1,000 in 1 week challenge next week, so make sure you stay tuned for that and subscribe if you're not already. Okay, cool. Now that I got that out of the way, let's actually talk about how to make money. Okay, so how do you know if a shoe is actually profitable? What shoes do you buy, and where do you actually go to buy them? So first, let's talk about shoes to buy. Okay, so if you haven't already, go ahead and download StockX because you're going to need this for the rest of the video. StockX is basically our informational database for all of the sneaker market. It tells us what's selling, how much it's selling, and what shoes are trending the most right now. So all I want you to do to figure out what shoes to actually sell is to go to StockX and go to the shoe section and then just filter by most popular. You can also see by these other filters, there's tons of different ways that you can search for shoes, but this is going to show you what people are actually shopping for and actually buying right now. And the entire sneaker market uses StockX as a way to determine pricing, so this is super important to understand. Sneaker trends are always changing, but at the time of this video, Jordan 4s, Nike Dunk Lows, Asics, New Balances, all these kind of random shoe models will be the best sellers. And this is also reflective by what we're seeing on the StockX filters tab. But I'm going to pop up on screen a bunch of different Jordan models to get familiar with. If you don't already understand the difference between a Jordan 1, a Jordan 3, a Jordan 5, and a Jordan 6, all these different models, get familiar with those so that you know what you're actually looking for. There's only a handful of Jordan models that actually sell well. It's just important to know what these different models are so that you can pick up on these trends. Okay, so while we're on StockX, you might have noticed this bid and this ask button. Let me explain to you what those 2 things are. This is the same in any market, just like the stock market or even the cryptocurrency market. The bid price is simply what the buyers are willing to pay for a specific item or for a specific stock. So in this case, the Jordan 4 Reimagined Grade School in the size 6 has a highest bid of $140. And this is telling me that the highest that someone wants to pay for this shoe right now is $140. But if we look at the green button, we can see that the lowest ask is $152. Now this is the complete opposite of what the bid price is. Basically, this is the lowest that a seller is willing to sell the shoe for. So we can see the highest that someone's willing to buy it for is $140, and the lowest that someone's willing to sell it for is $152. So we have a bid-ask spread or difference of $12. Now this is important because this tells us what we can actually pay and what we can actually sell for. So for me, typically, I like to pay under the bid price no matter what. Just because the market's unpredictable and it's always changing, if I can pay under bid price at least $5 to $20, I know I can usually make a profit. And I have plenty of buyers that are paying slightly above bid or even closer to the ask price. When it comes to selling, I typically like to sell $5 to $10 below the ask, and so I'm not making a crazy margin when I'm doing wholesale, but I'll explain all these different models later on. Okay, now you kind of understand how StockX works and how to determine what to buy and sell for. Now let's talk about how to build trust so that you can actually go out and buy these pairs and sell these pairs. The first thing you need to do, either after watching this video or even right now, go ahead and pause and make an Instagram account specifically for sneakers. You can use mine as a reference as to what to do and what to put on your page, but basically just make a simple bio, have a nice profile picture, and make your reference post. Your reference post is where future customers are going to leave you reviews, and this is how you're going to actually build trust with other future new sellers and buyers. Now the key is you want to be posting content showing your face or even just showing off your day-to-day life as much as possible. If you couple this with selling to as many new buyers and buying from as many new sellers as possible, you're going to be able to build up a ton of reviews and have more people in your ecosystem. And this this is going to allow you to do business with much bigger people without them worrying about paying you up front. So just to recap that little segment, post as much content as possible and sell to as many new people as possible. Okay, so what content do we actually post? Great question. Now, the best thing to do in 2024 is to just post content showing your face and showing off your personality more than just being a regular no-face sneaker page. If you can document your journey, even if that means documenting yourself looking on Facebook Marketplace for deals or just looking for pairs, that's better than not posting your face at all. And the reason I say post your face is because it shows that you're a real person and that your brand has real authenticity to it. There's way too many scammers out there and it's super hard to distinguish yourself if you're not showing your face and your own personality. The best way to get content ideas is just to look at other people that are doing something similar to what you want to do, but you can also just start with simple stuff like day in the lives or unboxing a new pair or even just showing off your life going to school and then coming home and reselling shoes. Both of my Instagram pages are great places to look for future content ideas, so I'll pop both of those for you guys down in the description below. Now, the best place to actually start when it comes to buying shoes is the used market. And the reason for this is because used shoes are usually way cheaper and you can make much higher margins with them. They also don't have a set determined market price, whereas like new shoes, as we just showed you, have a price set on StockX. So it's much easier to make $40, $50, $60, even $100 per pair on used shoes when doing that with new shoes is a lot harder nowadays. Now, the best way to do this is to go over to Facebook Marketplace and search for used Jordan retros in your area. Now, if you remember the models that we were just talking about on StockX for new pairs, you can look for those same exact models, but just in the used form. I just hopped over to my phone. If I go to Marketplace and I search for used Jordan retros, you can see a whole bunch of stuff pops up. I'm seeing some Jordan 11s, I'm seeing some Jordan 5s, some Jordan 4s. So what I'm gonna do is look through all of these until I see something that looks halfway decent. Okay, so here I'm seeing a pair of Jordan 1s for only $25. Looks like this one's actually sold out. Okay, so here's another example. These Jordan 11 cool gray lows. We can check these out and just basically see how the condition's looking. There's a little bit of a description here. He is asking $160 if he has to meet $180. But usually with people on Facebook Marketplace, they're pretty desperate, so we can negotiate them down. Now, also, one thing that's really important is there's a lot of scammers on Facebook Marketplace, and you really need to be careful what you actually buy. And so what I'm about to tell you is super important. First, I would just do a quick look at the person's actual profile just to see if they're actually a real person. So this guy looks like he does a mobile detailing business. He seems like a legitimate person just trying to get rid of some shoes, so I'm not really super alarmed. But never trust anybody online until after you get the pair and after you verify its authenticity. So what I like to do is just ask them where they got it from. I'll first reach out by just saying, hi, is this available? Like the default message. But once we actually get to talking, I'm going to ask him if he has a proof of receipt or if he just can tell me where he got it from. Now, usually a scammer will say that they got it from their friend or that they don't remember, but a lot of the time you'll actually be able to get a receipt from the person and prove that it's a real pair. Now that we have this, we're going to actually go over to eBay to see if we can actually sell this for a profit. So now I'm on the eBay app. I'm basically just going to look up Jordan 11 low cool gray, and then that other pair was a size, so it was a size 10. So we're gonna go through and start looking. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna hit filter, and I'm gonna click this show more button and scroll down until I see sold items, because I only want to see items that have actually been sold. So okay, there's a pair right here, new with box, sold for $250. This one is pre-owned, it sold for $107. But this condition is way better than the pair that we were looking at, whereas like our pair looks a little bit beat up. So basically what you want to do is just go through these listings and compare this to the pair that you're actually looking at. In this case, it looks like a lot better looking pairs are being sold for $100. So unless the guy that I'm talking to on Facebook is willing to come down to like $60 or even $50, I wouldn't even buy this pair. So what you can do, kind of a good baseline, is to just take the average of all of the 10 most recently sold pairs that are in a similar condition to the one that you're looking at, and that'll give you the price that you can sell it for. So another thing is actually make sure the pairs are selling. Today is May 29th, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs have been sold within the last week. That's pretty decent. This pair is actually still selling in 2024. You don't want to see that the last time this was sold was in like 2023, because that's telling us that this pair is not actually in demand and no one's gonna buy it when we actually get our hands on it. Cool. Now just repeat that process until you find a deal that matches up, and once you're able to negotiate someone down on Facebook to at least $50 below the price that you're seeing on eBay that you can sell it for, you have a good deal. Now when you go to meet up, make sure it's in a public, well-lit place and you're not doing meetups at night just for your own safety. And then you can use an app like Legit app or the Check app to see if the pair is actually legit if you have doubts. Now a couple things that you can negotiate on, and I'm going to show you the pair of these off-white dunks. As you can see right here, I don't know if that's going to focus. So right now these are the stars. If there's some star loss, as in like these stars are smeared, or you can kind of see right right here, there's a little bit of store loss, but they're fairly in good condition. You can take dollars off for stuff like that. You can also see this pair is pretty creased because I wear it a lot. You can take off more money from that. And just overall condition, if the heel drag, so here's another thing, like mine's actually in pretty decent condition, but a lot of the times you'll see this heel back here completely just smushed. That's another thing that you can take off money for. So try to find anything on the shoe when you actually meet up that you can take off additional money for, because more likely the person just wants to get rid of the pair, and if they went all that way to meet you up, they'll be able to take 20, 30, even sometimes $50 off the top, even more. There's been so many times when I've done a meetup and the pair didn't look the same as the picture, so I was able to save another $30 to $50 and make even more money when it goes to selling. Okay, cool. Now that you have the pair, all you have to do is take some nice pictures, maybe clean it up if you feel like it, and then throw it up on eBay. And if you followed the tips from before, you should be able to get a sale within just a couple of days. This is exactly how I made my first $3,000 reselling, and after that I was able to move on to the other methods, which we're about to talk about. But this absolutely still works in 2024, and you're going to see more proof of this next week when I post my new video. Okay, now after you got the used market down and you started to do some deals there, the next best way to get shoes right now as a beginner is the retail drops. So stores like Nike, Foot Locker, Snipes, DTLR, there's a whole bunch of them. Download all of those apps and get ready to sign up for raffles whenever a new shoe comes out. Now, just as an example, when these Red Cement 4s first released, they were available in pretty much every store all across the US, so they were super easy to sign up for and get your hands on, and they were still profitable on release day. Now, usually buying hype shoes like this, like a Jordan 4, you're always going to be able to make money paying retail for it, but getting a ton of pairs is not always easy. It's helpful to do this because you can just sell these pairs to apps like StockX, Go, or eBay without having to deal with any real buyers or sellers yet. And if you're just starting out and you don't have a ton of clientele, or you haven't started posting content yet, it's going to be a lot easier than having to deal with all these people and make all this content. So there's absolutely no shame in selling on platforms like StockX or Go. If that's what you have to do to get the ball rolling, you can eventually use it to segue into other business in the future. I don't want to spend too much time talking about retail drops because you probably already know how that goes, and you probably already know that it isn't the best way to get shoes anymore in 2024. Okay, now we're moving on to part 2. So now that I've kind of got the basics out of the way for anyone that needed to get caught up or anyone that just wanted a refresher, let's talk about more of the advanced fun stuff. So all the shoes that you see behind me, except for a couple of these orange boxes that you might see from the Nike outlet, I bought from other resellers. And the reason that I do this is simple. It's much easier to get a ton of pairs in a lot less time without having to wait in line or pray that I hit on the Nike Sneakers app. So how do we actually buy off these resellers, and what is the strategy that I keep talking about that I've used to be able to buy all of these pairs and sell over 5,000 pairs? Now, that Instagram that I had you make in step 1 is super important. So if you haven't already made it, go ahead and do that right now. So first I'm going to show you how to actually find buyers and sellers using buyer and seller hacking. Then I'm going to talk about how to build connections and relationships with them. I'm doing all of this on my phone because a lot of you say that you don't have a computer, so you have no excuse. I'm hopping over to my Instagram right now. I'm going to go to just my ZNA Kicks Instagram, which is my shoe page. Right now I have my pinned post as my first post. So if you see right here, there's tons of comments, over 138 comments. I can start looking through some of these people. So let's look through this guy. Okay, NP Sneaks, right? I can see that he sells shoes. He looks like a reseller. Yeah, so his story is showing that he's a reseller. So this is one person that I could reach out to. I could keep going through. Sneaker Dan. Okay, he looks like more like he buys shoes for himself. We'll skip him. SoCal Hype. Okay, look, boom. Here's a huge bulk reseller that I just found, and he's a bulk sneaker supplier. So I can click on his page, and boom, just like that, I can see a list of 23 MX Cinder foam runners for $100 shipped. Now this looks like it's coming from overseas, which I would stay away from this if you're just starting out, but the point is, look, this guy has tons and tons of pairs, and you know, I follow him, so I know he's a legitimate seller, but you can look at his reference post to see if he's actually legit, and he has it pinned right here in his profile. So like I said, all of these major resellers are gonna have a reference post that shows all of their past reviews. So if you look right here, you can now do that same exact process of just looking through all the people that have commented on his post, and I'm gonna be able to find even more buyers and sellers. So right here, this guy said, bought 50 pairs off my guy, 100% legit. So if this guy's buying 50 pairs, he probably has a good amount of money, and I can assume he's probably a bulk buyer. Hypothetically, if I had a ton of pairs already, I could hit up this guy and be like, look, I saw you're buying off of SoCal Hype. I have a pair of Jordan 4 red cements. I actually have 70 pairs of them. Would you be interested in buying? Boom, there we go. I just found my way into another buyer's DMs, and that's all you have to do to find buyers and sellers. So a lot of people overcomplicate this, but all you have to do is just look through all these reference posts and start scouting out who's actually legit in this space. Okay, so that's essentially the system to finding legitimate buyers and sellers. That's literally all you have to do. Just go through and scout through all these people that are already on my Instagram, and I'll pop them once again. My Instagram is in the description if you want to start there as a reference point. But then from there, just look at every single person that you find's reference post, and you're going to get 200 to 300 more buyers and sellers that are potentially good for you to do business with from each person that you find. So every time time you find a person, you're finding 200 to 300 more. It's literally crazy easy. Go in there and put the work in. So when you're first reaching out to these people, let them know how you found them just by saying, oh, I came from SoCal Hype, or I came from Zain Kix's page, saw you did business. I'm looking to start selling in bulk, or I'm looking to start buying in bulk. Just wanted to reach out and connect. Build that relationship. You can figure out what's DM strategy works best for you, but drop them a follow, like a couple of their posts. That's really all you have to do to get your foot in the door. So now that you have some buyers and sellers, you can start doing sneaker dropshipping. I have a full 1-hour course on this already posted on my YouTube, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically what you're doing is you're finding a buyer and finding a seller, and you're connecting the seller and the buyer together and profiting off of a fee in the middle. I'm going to leave a link for that video down in the description below if you want to watch that. It's a full 1-hour breakdown, so it's super valuable. Go ahead and check that out if you want to get started with that method. Now, sneaker dropshipping is great if you already have the buyers and the sellers, but it's much better to actually get into bulk first. So keep buyer and seller hacking until you build up a good amount of buyers and sellers that you think would be actually good to do business with. Now what you need to do is reach out to the buyers, ask them what they're actually buying so that you can go find that supply from these sellers that you also followed. That's really this entire process of sneaker reselling. You're figuring out what your buyers want, you're figuring out what your sellers have, and then you're trying to figure out how you can make money off of that. If this is making sense so far and you're following along, comment 2 down below just so I know you're actually still watching. Okay, awesome. By this point, you have all the knowledge to actually go and make $5,000 a month off of reselling. The mix of retail, used shoes, and bulk, you should have no problem being able to scale up, but put a lot more focus onto buying off of other resellers as soon as you start to build your money up. Now in part 3, let's talk about scaling up your operation and doing less work and making more money. So in the beginning, I told you to work with as many people as possible, but now you're going to start to find that it's better to condense down who you're working with. And the reason for this is because you want to focus on doing the most amount of business with the smallest amount of people. Take, for example, my business. I might only be buying from 5 or 6 different people, but we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with them every couple months. So this lets us get way better pricing and continue to scale our operation without having to worry about finding new buyers and sellers every single day. Once you've built your capital up a little bit and you're working with 5 to 10K, you can start getting into consignment. If you don't already know what consignment is, you're taking your inventory and putting it in a physical sneaker store, and when they actually sell the pairs, they'll take a small cut of the sale. Now this is actually beneficial to us because 1, we can get sales without having to actually go and do a meetup or ship a package out, and these stores sell for a much higher price than we're able to, so we can make a lot more profit even though they're taking 10 to 30% of our sale. And this is really one of the only ways that you can make passive income with sneakers. Okay, so by this point, you're probably doing a good amount of bulk. You've done a little bit of used shoes. Maybe you've outgrown that and now you're focusing fully on buying off of other resellers. Another thing that you can get into is Amazon FBA. Amazon is selling millions of dollars of product every day. And Amazon will also allow you to sell shoes like On Clouds, Reebok, New Balance, shoes that you might not typically be able to sell to people that only buy retro shoes. Now, Amazon is a whole different ball game. Sourcing is a lot more complicated, and there's a lot more tools and systems that you need in place to be able to do it successfully. But if you want me to make a video breaking all of that down, just let me know in the comments below. And that about wraps up everything that you need to know to make $10,000 this summer as a beginner reseller. Now remember, assuming your summer break is only 3 months long, you only need to make $3,400 per month to make $10,000. And that's super attainable even as a beginner. But the truth is, none of that's going to happen unless you actually go and take action on what you learned today. And you continue to ask me questions so that you can figure out what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. If you found this video valuable, all I ask from you is that you click that subscribe button and drop a like and a comment letting me know how you liked it, or if you have any other future questions. I'll see you next week for my $0 to $1,000 sneaker challenge. Peace out.